everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We all want to learn faster and more effectively, right? Well, on today's deep dive, we're taking a look at journaling.
Journaling.
Yeah, journaling. We're going to see how powerful it can be when you use the right kind of journal, especially for improving your relationships and for studying, which I'm super interested in. We're using some excerpts about Lestalian journals. And I got to say, I was pretty impressed when I saw how much they focused on the actual design of their journals. They don't just chuck some pages together. They actually seem to have really thought about how the design can make a big difference in how you use them.
It's interesting, right? I mean, we often think about journaling in terms of the content, like what we write down, but the physical object itself,
Yeah.
the feel of the paper, the way it's bound, all of that can really impact our experience and how likely we are to stick with it.
It's like if you've got a pen that you hate writing with or a notebook that's all floppy and weird, you're probably not going to be reaching for it that often.
Exactly. I know I'm way more likely to use my journal if it feels good in my hand, if the paper's nice and smooth. And it seems Lestalian gets that.
Yeah, from what we've seen, they're all about that, they talk about creating this beautiful space with their journals. Smooth pages, high quality design, that's what they're going for. And they specifically mention how their journals are designed with both relationships and study in mind.
And it's not just a generic journal that you could theoretically use for anything, right?
Yeah.
They've thought about the specific needs of people who want to use journaling for relationship growth and for academic success.
Right. When you think about relationships, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff. But journaling can give you that step back, to reflect on your feelings, see how you're progressing emotionally, and maybe even figure out how to communicate better with your partner or, whoever. I mean, I know there are times I've wished I'd taken a moment to just process my feelings before saying something.
It's like a dress rehearsal for those difficult conversations, right? You get to play it out in your head or on the page and maybe work through some of those emotional knots before you actually have to talk things out.
Now, on the study side, this is where things get really interesting for me. The material suggests that journaling can help you declutter your mind, like literally clear out all that mental junk that's getting in the way of focusing. And they make a pretty strong case for the power of actually writing things down by hand.
I used to think typing notes was just as good, if not better. But they bring up this thing called the graphomotor loop. It's basically how our brains connect the physical act of writing with memory. So when you write something out, you're actually engaging with the information on a much deeper level than when you just type it.
That makes a lot of sense. My sister used to do that. I mean, she'd have all her notes typed up on her computer, but she'd still rewrite them all by hand when she's studying for her medical exams. She swore it helped her remember everything better.
Absolutely. And it's not just about memory. There's also something really satisfying about seeing your progress. As you fill up those pages, it's a visual reminder of all the work you've put in. It can be really motivating, especially when you're tackling a tough subject.
And speaking of motivation, let's dive into some of the specific features of Lestalian journals. They're big on numbered pages and a table of contents. Now, I know that might not sound like a big deal,
Right.
but trust me, when you're scrambling to find a specific note, you'll be thinking them. I can't tell you how many times I've wasted precious minutes flipping through a notebook trying to find something I wrote weeks ago.
Yeah, that's the worst. Those features might seem simple, but they're so essential for staying organized. Being able to quickly reference a specific page or find a topic without having to reread everything that's huge when you're studying. It saves so much time and stress.
Okay, so another thing they highlight is thick paper. They specify 120 GSM or more. I know, sounds technical, but basically it means the ink won't bleed through. You ever had that happen? You're writing with a
Oh.
nice pen and suddenly it's ghosting onto the next page?
Ugh, yes. The worst. Especially when you're using fountain pens or markers. Thick paper makes such a difference. It keeps your notes clean and readable, and you can actually use both sides of the page without the ink bleeding through.
Lestalian's journals are also softcover, which makes them super portable. I can definitely see how that would be appealing for students, tossing it in their bag with their books.
Yeah. Hardcover journals definitely have their place. They're sturdy and they offer that extra protection. But for students, the portability of a softcover is a big plus.
And then there are the ruling options, which I think is really cool. You can choose between dashed lines, dot grid, or blank pages. They've basically thought about all the different ways people like to take notes.
Yeah, some people thrive on the structure of lines. Others prefer the flexibility of a dot grid. And then there are the free spirits who need that blank canvas to really let their ideas flow. It's great that they offer options to suit different styles of thinking.
Now, going back to Listellian specifically, they use wood-free, ivory-colored paper. It's supposed to be super smooth, perfect for writing.
Yes. And I got to say, they're also big on the binding. They make sure their journals lie flat, which might seem like a minor detail, but it's actually really important for the writing experience. I mean, have you ever tried to write in a journal that won't stay open?
I have. It's super annoying. You're constantly fighting with it, and it's just not a pleasant way to write.
Exactly. It interrupts your flow, and it can even make your handwriting look messy.
They also talk about some of the common challenges students face when studying things like, ink bleed through, disorganized notes, smudging, and they basically show how their journals address each of those issues. Thick paper, numbered pages, high quality paper that resists smudging. It's like they've actually thought about the practical needs of students.
Yeah, it's like they've done the research and they're trying to anticipate the problems students might encounter. Like, they even include a back pocket, which is perfect for storing those random loose papers that seem to accumulate everywhere.
It's the little things, They make a big difference. In fact, they even share a story about a student named Melanie who had this amazing academic breakthrough after she started using a Listellian journal.
Ah, Melanie.
Now, it's a fictional story, but it really illustrates the point. Melanie was struggling with her notes. They were all over the place. She felt overwhelmed, and she just couldn't seem to get organized. But then she starts using this journal with the numbered pages and the dashed lines, and she gets into bullet journaling. And guess what? Her grades start improving dramatically. I mean, she goes from feeling lost to acing her exams.
It's a great example of how the right tools can really make a difference. And it's not just about having the tools, it's about using them effectively.
Yeah.
That's where their tips for effective journaling come in.
Right. They suggest starting with a clear purpose. Why are you journaling? What are you hoping to achieve? And then, of course, using the right tools. They specifically mention Listellian softcover and smooth binding, which we've talked about. And they encourage people to experiment with different layout options, like using a dot grid for mind maps or bullet journaling.
And don't forget about the index. Keeping an index of your notes is so important for being able to find information quickly. It's like having a map of your journal.
So they lay out a pretty compelling argument for why Listellian journals are a perfect pick. They highlight all the key features: the soft faux leather cover, the back pocket, the generous page count, the different ruling options, the lay-flat binding, and even the aesthetic design. They've really tried to create a journal that's both practical and stylish.
Yeah, they haven't sacrificed form for function. They've managed to create a journal that looks good and feels good to use.
They also make a point of saying that achieving academic excellence with journaling goes beyond just taking notes. It's about having a dedicated space to brainstorm ideas, work through problems, and just clear your head. They talk about how this can lead to more focused study sessions, and they emphasize the importance of tracking your progress, which can really boost your self-discipline and confidence.
We live in such a fast-paced world, and it's easy to get caught up in the constant stream of information and demands. Journaling offers a way to slow down, to reflect, to process our thoughts and emotions. And that's so important for our mental well-being, whether we're students or not.
And finally, they talk about unleashing creativity and organization through journaling. They give some really cool ideas like doodling, creating mind maps, using color coding, designing custom layouts, even adding motivational quotes. And they mention that Listellian's paper works well with all sorts of pens, including gel pens and fountain pens, which is a nice touch.
Yeah, it's all about making the journal your own,
Mm.
using it in a way that works best for you. And having a journal that's compatible with different writing tools definitely adds to that sense of personalization.
So they wrap things up by looking at the wide appeal of journals for all sorts of things, not just study. They mention journals for wellness, creativity, goal tracking, and they point out the huge range of options available, from blank journals to guided journals. And they position Listellian as kind of a sweet spot, offering a good balance of practicality and elegance.
It's interesting, right? Journaling has become so much more than just a way to record our thoughts and feelings. It's a tool for self-discovery, for creativity, for personal growth. And it seems like Listellian has really tapped into that broader appeal.
So here's the takeaway, folks. A dedicated journal can be a surprisingly powerful tool, especially for those who are serious about their studies or about improving their relationships. And it's not just about having any old notebook. The design features really do matter. Things like Numbered pages, a table of contents, high quality paper, a lay flat binding these can make a huge difference in how effective and enjoyable the journaling experience is.
It's about being intentional with our journaling practice, and choosing a journal that supports that intention can really set us up for success.
So here's something to think about. What's one area of your life where you're feeling stuck or maybe just wanting to improve? Could incorporating a journal, maybe even one with some of the features we've talked about today, help you to make some progress in that area? Food for thought.